While you can still call home the place where your mother's blood dwells, there you cannot be touched or harmed by Voldemort. He shed her blood, but it lives on in you and her sister. Her blood became your refuge. Okay, so as long as Harry is at number 4 Privet Drive, there he cannot be touched. And it feels like this should only apply to Harry and Voldemort because of how connected they are, but this seems to protect Harry from everybody. I mean, that's why the Death Eaters are waiting for him to come out just before his 17th birthday in Deathly Hallows. But if you want to say, hey, that's just Voldemort's plan, and his plan is always that he is the only one who kills Harry, okay, but they're all operating under the assumption that none of them can touch Harry at Privet Drive. That's why they don't attack first to try to make them flee quicker. And even then, he does also seem to get some protection from Uncle Vernon in Order of the Phoenix. You know, when he hears Mundungus apparate away, then all of a sudden he jumps up with his wand out, Vernon grabs him by the neck, and then he gets, like, shocked or something, and it's like, what else could that magic be, you know? So he definitely has some protection from Uncle Vernon, and, you know, it would be nice if it was everybody in the house, but obviously Petunia and Dudley have Lily's blood in them as well, you know, from the Evans family, and, you know, it would be pretty nice if he had a little extra protection from his cousin, the Boxer. Ah, the noble sport. But here's the question of the video. Just how many people are safe at number 4 Privet Drive because of the Bond of Blood spell? Is it anyone who lives there? Is it the house that's protected? Is it Harry that's protected? Is it, you know, just anybody who happens to have Lily's blood is protected in it? Because if it's just Harry who's safe at number 4, then we have a pretty big problem, and that's that Voldemort could just attack the house, kill the Dursleys, and all of a sudden Harry doesn't have a safe place to stay. Or at least not as safe, because obviously Dumbledore is going to be involved with finding Harry a new safe house, and it's still going to be good, it's just not going to be as foolproof, you know? This is Dumbledore's plan A, and we know that he doesn't mess around with Harry's safety. Well, except for...
Harry!
And I do think we have a problem here, because I think that it's just Harry who's protected by the Bond of Blood spell, that it doesn't even protect Petunia and Dudley, even though they share Lily's blood, and the reason why I think that is because of the selective nature of the spell's protection. Because even though it does prevent all the Death Eaters from entering the home or even getting particularly close to it, we know that it doesn't prevent any intruder from coming in or even from stopping any magical presence from getting too close. And I've already mentioned one example of this with Mundungus apparating away to get his stolen cauldrons in Order of the Phoenix. Again, Harry jumps up, wand out, and Uncle Vernon's there to attack him, but quickly lets him go as he's shocked by some kind of magic. And it has to be some kind of passive magic in play here, because we know the Ministry is watching Harry closer than ever at this point. They want any excuse they can to bring him in and expel him from Hogwarts. But Dumbledore cast the charm. I'm sure you're thinking that he could just pick and choose who can get around it, and you know, it's Dumbledore, so maybe that's just the end of my theory, and God, this is kind of a lame way to end a video, I guess. But just to double back...
My God, he's double backing.
Dumbledore believes that Sirius Black is a mass-murdering traitor who wants Harry dead. Dumbledore doesn't want him anywhere near Harry, yet he's able to get to Little Whinging, and not only that, gets so close to Harry that Harry even sees him. Yet, how is this possible? And not even just with the Bond of Blood. I mean, like, if anybody has any ideas for how Sirius learns where Harry is living, I'm all ears. I got a video up here that says it had to be the Ministry of Magic, but I'd love to hear what your theory is. And sure, you can point out that, hey, Harry's running away from home here, and this should really break the Bond of Blood, because we know that for it to stop working, that you have to leave home with the intent to never return. And to that I say, the spell shouldn't work at all after this then, but we know it does, so that comes down more to, like, oh, Harry's just a kid running away from home, and it's not quite the same, you know. Plenty of us have had that, oh, I'm running away from home when we're little kids, you know. Harry's 13 here. I can just wave that off, no problem. What I do think matters more here is Sirius's intent, because he just wants to see Harry before he goes off to kill Peter. He has no intention of hurting Harry, and I think that's why he's allowed to get close. And when you think about all of the magical creatures and wizards who are able to get near Harry, you start to see this pattern where none of them really want to hurt him. Like I said, obviously Sirius just wants to see him, Dung wants to protect him, Dumbledore shows up a few times, again, to protect him or give him knowledge in the case of him reading Sirius's will. Then there's the Dementors, which feels like it kind of breaks that, but at the same time, I don't really think of Dementors as having intent. They neither live nor die. They don't cause harm intentionally. It's just what they do. I don't think you would be harmed by a Dementor any different than you'd be harmed by a storm of some kind. So I don't really think that would break it. And there is one last magical creature who comes into contact with Harry that leads me to believe that intent is what matters here.
I'm an elf.
Yep, our good old buddy Dobbert, who manages to apparate into the house. And I'm sure your first thought is that house elf apparition isn't like wizard's apparition. And I would agree, you're right, but that's how Voldemort is exposed. Dumbledore believes in children's tales and house elves. He's going to be protecting Harry from any threat. And I'm sure your second thought is, wait, how does Dobby know where Harry lives if there needs to be a theory for how Sirius finds out? Well, for those of you who are regular viewers of my channel, you know that my theory is that Dobby would have learned from Dumbledore where Harry lives in exchange for working for him and being his spy. You can click on the card here for full details.
For full details, see my published works.
For this video, though, all that matters is that Dumbledore would be learning of the danger in the Chamber of Secrets from Dobby, and would be willing to give him the information so that Harry can also get a warning about it, preferably from somebody who isn't Dumbledore. And it really is a no-lose situation for Dumbledore here, because, hey, if Dobby or his masters want to try to hurt Harry, too bad they can't get through the Bond of Blood spell.
Well, gosh, that's the best you could do.
And I go back to the spell just protecting Harry because all of these are allies of Harry, but the Dursleys would view them all as threats or even enemies, especially Sirius, and probably for good reason there too, but their opinion doesn't matter. And if their opinion doesn't matter, then they aren't really getting any protection from the spell. They're just happening to get protection because Harry's there. And if they aren't getting any protection, then they are vulnerable to attacks when he's not there. And if they're vulnerable, then why doesn't Voldemort ever attack the Dursleys when Harry is at Hogwarts? Because, again, Petunia and Dudley are the only characters who we know of who can fulfill the need in this spell for Lily's blood. If Harry doesn't have this protection, then he is a lot more vulnerable when he's away from Dumbledore. Well, first is that Voldemort obviously doesn't believe in the Bond of Blood spell the same way that Dumbledore does, and we know this because he spends all of Goblet of Fire trying to get Harry to the graveyard when, if Dumbledore was the one who's completely right, then all Voldemort would have to do is use Petunia or Dudley's blood to be able to attack Harry again. And for what it's worth, I do think that Voldemort has a point here. I think if he attacked Privet Drive and stole either Petunia or Dudley's blood, he would definitely be able to attack Harry at Privet Drive, but that's not really his only home. He considers Hogwarts his home by his second year, so I think there is a chance that you would have to go after Harry specifically, because he does also get extra protections from what has to be the Bond of Blood, honestly, while he's at Hogwarts at the end of his first year, because he's protected by some magic that we never see again in the series when he touches Quirrell and it leads to Quirrell's death and Voldemort has to escape again, and there's really no other explanation for what could be protecting him here. And we do also know that Voldemort never attacks Harry while he's at Hogwarts until the end of the series, or more specifically, after Harry has already met him in the forest with the intent to die, or, to put it another way, he's left Hogwarts with the intent to never return home. How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy!
So I can understand in Voldemort's lack of understanding about family, or the faintest possibility that he needs Harry's blood specifically, is enough that it's worth it to just attack Harry, or worst case, hey, he's already here and then I can kill him. But then we have to ask, after Goblet of Fire, does he really ever have another opportunity to attack Privet Drive? During Order, the Ministry is ignoring him, which leads to there being two problems with attacking Privet Drive this year. First is, let's be honest, the Order of the Phoenix is still probably protecting the Dursleys whether or not Harry is there, and at that point it's a question of, is it really worth it just for the possibility that at a later date you can get Harry? And the other reason is, let's say they succeed and the Death Eaters manage to kill the Dursleys. Are we so sure that the Ministry would see that happen? And, obviously they want to not believe that Voldemort's back and will say anything to avoid confirming that, but are we so sure they can look at Harry's last family members being murdered and being like, oh, well, God, maybe Voldemort is back? So even the faintest possibility of the Ministry saying, oh, Voldemort's back, makes it not worth it. And even if you think there's a chance that the Ministry would say, oh, Harry must have killed his last family members for attention to just make this story real. I mean, we also know that they could have accused him of murdering Cedric, but they didn't. And, I kind of explored what would happen if they did. Then we get to Half-Blood Prince, and Voldemort's focuses are overthrowing the Ministry of Magic and killing Dumbledore. And he can just wait for Harry to turn 17 because it's going to happen in July after this year. It's actually one of the few times in the series that Voldemort thinks like an immortal being, He has more important things to do and he can just wait on killing Harry. Really, it just comes down to him making another mistake by not attacking the Dursleys either with Quirrell or with Barty Jr. and Wormtail. Maybe he gets Harry, maybe he doesn't, but at least he's putting Dumbledore on his heels. He never gets Dumbledore on the defensive. He never gets close to attacking any of his most important plans. And, it just comes down to Voldemort's weaknesses, which are his inability to plan and his inability to understand love.
Love won't save you.
Huh. Tone can really change that quote, but now I want to shift the question to you guys. When do you think would have been a better time to attack the Dursleys? Year 1 with Quirrell, or Year 4 with Barty Jr. and Wormtail? Or let me know if you want to see a what-if story like this. Obviously, I've been pitching my channel a lot, but yay, if you made it to the end of this video, you've probably enjoyed it a little, so why not check out some more? Got a video here, got my channel here, but that's all I got for you guys today. So if you enjoyed, please drop a like, subscribe if you want more like this, and I'll see you next time on STV.